Well, good morning and welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Had a little delay there on an internet connection, so we got a little bonus, Frankly Speaking, to kick off the broadcast. Boy, do we have a lot to cover today. I'm so glad that you're going to be a part of it. If you're new to the show, you see that number on the bottom of your screen. You can reach out at any time just to send in a wave or to make a comment, leave a voicemail. Rick left a comment after Friday's broadcast. Rick said, "Good morning, Frank." Well, good morning, Rick. 75% of people oppose taking control of Greenland in a new poll. Sounds good. Let's move on to the next nightmare. Donald. I was listening to Terry Moran, who I think is a trustworthy investigative reporter. He reported that Barack Obama deported 5 million illegal aliens during his time in office. In fact, he deported more illegal aliens in his first year than Trump has in his first year back. Obama actually achieved this without tear gas, explosions, protests, and shooting. He did it without mass gangs of untrained thugs, and Rick is referring to ICE there, untrained thugs, going door to door and busting through car windows. He did it without scaring children and throwing women and seniors to the ground. He apparently achieved shipping 5 million people out of the country without most of us knowing it. Maybe Trump should give Barack a call and ask him how he pulled that off without starting a war like he has. He should also ask him what type of people win Nobel Peace Prizes as voted on by the selection committee. I know Trump is thinking about invoking the Insurrection Act in Minnesota. Why didn't he invoke it during the January 6th insurrection? Nothing Trump would like more than to militarize the streets of America. Make it like Russia. Wake up, people. He's a tyrant, a dictator, and a loser. And Mikado gave her Nobel Peace Prize medal to Trump. Although the medal has value now, it still makes me ill that creep has it. God watch over us all. That was Rick. Your thoughts on kicking off the Monday morning broadcast with Rick. Hey, what was your thoughts of the NFL this weekend? Boy, a heartbreaker with the Bills. A lot of people outraged over the controversial interception call. You know all about it. Why isn't that a catch? Down with simultaneous possession. ESPN's John Bucagros. Bro, I'm probably not pronouncing that right. A lot of people weighed in on this. I still need some answers on how this is not a catch, said Levi Brown, former NFL quarterback. Dave Portnoy wrote, I will watch this till the end of time, saying Cooks had total control of the ball when he hit the ground. What are we talking about? He had total control of the ball and got it ripped away on the ground. That's a catch. Etc. Oh, here's one. This is why some people feel it's scripted, meaning the NFL. Yeah, there's a lot of outrage. People, even McDermott, did not seem overly happy at the press conference. It's hard for me to understand why it was ruled the way it was, McDermott said. And if it's ruled that way, then why wasn't it slowed down just to make sure we have this right? That would have made a lot of sense to me because that's a pivotal play in the game. We have the ball at the 20, maybe kicking a game-winning field goal right there. So I'll just leave it at that. But I'm saying is because I'm standing up for Buffalo, darn it, I'm standing up for us because they went on, because what went on is how it should go down, is not how it should go down in my estimation. These guys spent 3 hours out there playing football and pouring their guts out to not even say, hey, let's just slow this thing down. That's why I'm bothered. That play is not even close. That's a catch all the way. I sat in my locker and I looked at it probably 20 times, and nobody can convince me that that ball is not caught and in possession of Buffalo. I just have no idea how the NFL handled it. In particular, the way that they did, I think the players and the fans deserve an explanation. Here's the deal. The fans deserve more. The players certainly deserve more. They deserve an explanation, and it's a shame that a game is decided on a call like that, and there's no time spent with the head official going underneath the hood or the replay booth, right, to the monitor. I don't understand how that works. I don't understand how that could be the case when it's such a close play. So basically, there's one person ruling on that play or only New York ruling on that play. I don't agree with that. If that's the case, I don't agree with that. That is the best approach to decide a game like that. because I only speak up when there's a wrong. In this case, it happened to be our team. We win with class, we lose with class in Buffalo. That's how we handle our business. But when I'm looking at the replay myself and I'm being objective and I'm saying, you cannot convince me that that was not a catch. Buffalo possession, ball at the 20. You can't convince me. I'm speaking up because I feel strongly that that was a catch and that possession should have been ball belonged to Buffalo. I can agree with the assessment of a change of possession or whatever this statement was. I can't agree with that. We're not going to sit here and take it, is what I'm saying. We're not just going to sit here and take it. We'll say, mad about it. And I feel strongly, as I've looked at it in review in my locker room, that is a catch, possession Buffalo, and that process should have been handled differently. I don't understand why the head official who was at the game does not get a chance to look at the same thing people in New York are ruling on. So a lot of anger at the Bills game. Also in the NFL, just quickly, starting with sports, the NFL announced 8 players were fined for rules infractions during the wild card weekend. All were unnecessary roughness or unsportsmanlike conduct fines. Player Aziz Al-Shahar, who wore eye black across his face inscribed with the message, "Stop the Genocide," which was clearly visible during the game, was not fined. NFL rules prohibit personal messages being displayed by a player, and the league's fine schedule calls for the first offense requiring an $11,593 fine. But the league is apparently comfortable with kind of an anti-Israel message being pushed. And it's good to see the NFL didn't learn their lesson from the Kaepernick situation. The Muslim advocacy group CARE previously told Outkick it commended Al-Shir for using his platform to express opposition to genocide during Monday night's primetime football. The NFL has declined to articulate its stance on the slogan and its use by Al-Shir on a national television last week when contacted by Outkick. And this is interesting because the NFL had no such inhibitions about making its feelings known when San Francisco 49ers defensive end Nick Bosa put his personal message on public display back in 2024. Bosa, you may recall, famously donned a MAGA hat after a Sunday night football game while his teammates were doing an interview on NBC. And get this, the NFL fined him $11,255 for displaying the personal message. So it seems like a little bit of a hypocrisy or a little bit of a double standard. The MAGA hat fined $11,255, but Stop the Genocide, written in eye black, no fine reported by the NFL. The NFL, not good at keeping politics out of their league. Okay, today is Martin Luther King Day. There's an interesting piece here talking, about in the NFL there, hijacking a game to push your political agenda. In this scenario, for decades, K through 12 schools across the U.S. have honored the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. in a way that reflected both his values and his example. On MLK Day, children have volunteered at food pantries, assembled hygiene kits for shelters, cleaned up local parks, and donated books to libraries. The message was simple and powerful. Citizenship requires service, and freedom comes with responsibility. After 15 years of advocacy, President Ronald Reagan signed the King Holiday Bill into law back in 1983, establishing the third Monday in January as a federal holiday. It was meant to be a unifying moment in American civic life, a day to reflect on our shared values, our progress, and the work still left to do. Today, that legacy is under assault. In New York City, for example, a radical teachers group calling itself NYC Educators for Palestine is hosting a Palestine teach-in on MLK Day for children as young as 6 years old. Similar efforts are cropping up in other cities, including Philadelphia. These events are not about service. They're not about Dr. King's vision of nonviolence or moral clarity. They're about ideological indoctrination, using a sacred day in American civil rights history to push a one-sided, inflammatory political agenda onto children. The group's own materials make their intentions clear, falsely claiming that Israel is occupying, quote, historic Palestine. Students will be taught, quote, Palestinian history and culture, along with lessons on the origins of Zionism. This is not neutral education. It is activism, and is particularly cynical given that Dr. King himself was a proud supporter of Israel and Zionism. viewing the Jewish people's right to self-determination as fully compatible with the fight for black civil rights. That part of history is unlikely to make it into the curriculum. Now, the author of this, Brandy Shafutsky, says, as a black American woman, as someone who works at the intersection of education and national security, I find this appropriation of Dr. King's legacy deeply offensive. MLK Day is not a blank canvas for every ideological movement that wants moral cover. It's not an intersectional free-for-all. It's a day set aside to honor a man whose leadership was rooted in universal human dignity, democratic values, and a profound belief in America's capability for moral growth, or capacity for moral growth. So what does it say that educators feel comfortable hijacking a day meant to honor a black American icon to promote a foreign political cause, one that has become increasingly associated with anti-Semitism, historical distortion, and in some cases, open support for extremist violence? There are a few possibilities. Some of these educators may simply be historically illiterate, unfamiliar with Dr. King's actual views on Israel and the Jewish people. Others may see a day off from school as a convenient organizing opportunity. But given the pattern we've witnessed over the last decade, the most likely explanation is more troubling. Radical movements often latch on to the moral authority of successful civil rights struggles to legitimize their own causes. They borrow language, symbols, and historic figures, not because they respect them, but because they are useful. Under the banner of intersectionality, entirely unrelated issues are forcibly linked, flattening history and erasing nuance. In this framework, complexity is the enemy, and children become easy targets. The result is a K-12 system increasingly willing to politicize classrooms, blur the lines between education and activism, and sacrifice intellectual honesty for ideological conformity. Parents are told not to worry. Students are told that they are learning justice. But what they are actually being taught is a simplistic, grievance-driven worldview, one that divides the world into oppressors and oppressed, with no room for democratic values, historic context, or moral consistency. This year marks 42 years since MLK Day became a federal holiday. It took decades of efforts to secure that recognition and to ensure that Dr. King's contributions to America would be honored, not distorted. And yet here we are, watching his legacy be repurposed by activists who neither share his values nor respect his history. This is not just shameful, it's dangerous. Children should not spend MLK Day being fed propaganda masquerading as education. They should be learning about courage, sacrifice, nonviolence, and the hard work of building a pluralistic society. They should be learning that civil rights are about expanding freedom, not narrowing it, and that justice is not achieved by replacing one form of hatred with another. Dr. King deserved better, so do our children. Governor Hochul also hijacked her MLK Day speech to make an anti-ICE rant. We're going to talk about ICE a little bit later on in the broadcast. She also took it as an opportunity to praise Alvin Bragg. Hochul invoked the hymn Lift Every Voice and Sing during her address from the pulpit in Harlem, at a Baptist church in Harlem. She addressed a crowd of more than 1,000 worshipers, then casually praised Alvin Bragg after she flubbed his title. We know that he's district attorney. She said, I never thought I would see what is happening to our country. I think about the struggles that they talked about in that beautiful song, Lift Every Voice and Sing. Then she attempted to draw a clunky analogy between African-American history and illegal immigration. This is normally what she does. It gets a little bit too big for her britches. Quote, today we have people struggling because they're in fear. They are too afraid to go to church because an ICE agent may take them out of this place and take them to a detention center, separate them from their families. That is what's happening in America today. So I've said in my State of the State, no ICE agent can come into a sacred place like a church or a hospital or a daycare or a school without a warrant signed by a judge. They cannot violate this sacred place. We are not surrendering our rights, and we're not going backwards, my friends. Not now, not ever. The governor also used Sunday's sermon to praise Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg, despite insisting she wasn't getting political during her address. We also have another fighter to keep people safe, and that is our Attorney General. Our District Attorney, Alvin Bragg, so screwing up his title. Good job. As always, from Governor Hochul. Who knows, maybe he'll be an Attorney General someday too. Changing the occupant of the White House. Change the occupant of the White House, she said. But I'm not here to get political. You know what I'm saying. But Bragg's been a great partner in bringing ideas to us in the legislature and myself on how to make our streets safer, and they are safer. Crime is down to record lows, particularly here in Manhattan, and I give him so much of the credit. But just like the first piece that we mentioned, I know I'm running late, Corey Brooks, we'll talk about this in a second. From Selma to Chicago, MLK's legacy is being betrayed by grievance politics. This is Pastor Corey Brooks. The South Side doesn't need another slogan or more empty politics. It needs a thing above all else, development. It needs the development of its youth into strong citizens with the ability to seize opportunity. It needs development that teaches people how to live and thrive in freedom. Most of all, it needs the restoration of good faith to reverse more than 60 years of bad faith that has destroyed too many communities. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. may be long gone, but his vision of the promised land, a land of opportunity for all, remains within reach. We must seek it or perish. There you go. We got a lot more to cover when we come back. I know I'm running late. Keep those waves, keep those comments coming in, and we'll be right back after this.
Young's Tires at 909 Chemung Street in Horseheads is the area's most trusted automotive repair facility. Check engine light on? Visit Young's Tires for a complete diagnostic check. Trust Young's Tires for complete repair, including tires, suspension, brakes, and more. For over 50 years, Young's Tires in Horseheads has been your trusted automotive repair shop. Whether you're an off-roader looking for a suspension upgrade or you want to get your star player to the game, trust the team at Young's Tires.
I'm Grace.
I'm Ida, and I lived in California.
To me, was just a puppy when I moved in. He's a emotional support animal.
I had Missy, who was 15 years old and blind.
Likes the people. He likes to greet all the people. All the employees are happy to see him.
I feel that my pets are very welcome here. I feel very welcome here. I think it's great.
Some call for more than a drink. They call for a scotch. Rich, patient, crafted over time. Every bottle tells a story.
Yeah, I'll take it. What? Bit drafty in here.
Foster's. Elevate your spirits.
Whether our stories, the warmth of our laugh, or our family's secret sauce, we all bring something different to the table. So make some space. The power of connection is waiting right outside your comfort zone. Learn how you can help strengthen your community at belongingbeginswithus.org/teamup.
Brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. Before we start talking about international issues, Mark writes in, good morning, Frank. Well, good morning, Mark. This is for Rick. Why don't you compare Biden to Trump? Oh, you can't. Biden was sleeping for 4 years. Joe Van Winkle instead of Rip Van Winkle. Thank you very much, Mark. I don't know if you've seen this. I just want to mention this quickly before we talk about international issues, and we are going to talk about Minnesota. We're going to talk about ICE in general. We've got a couple of New York State issues. I actually have a lot of Democrat updates. When we talk about 2028, we talk about the midterms, quite a few things to cover here in just a little bit. But President Trump is no stranger to making a statement and catches the media's attention. This happened recently with a new lapel pin. Have you seen this? Trump has worn various styles over the years, some garnering more reaction than others. Most recently, he wore a new pin he called the Happy Trump pin, which gained significant attention from the media and the public. Trump wore the accessory during a meeting with various high-profile oil and gas executives on January 9th, alongside his customary American flag pin. The pin appears to be a cartoon-style depiction of Trump wearing his trademark blue suit and red tie with his mouth agape and eyebrows ruffled. Fox News senior White House correspondent Peter Doocy noticed the pin and asked him about it. He said, You know what this is? It's called the Happy Trump. And consider the fact that I'm never happy. I'm never satisfied. I will never be satisfied until we make America great again. But we're getting pretty close. The president appeared to have worn the same pin at least once before back in 2025 while swearing in Tulsi Gabbard as the director of the National Intelligence. Trump has worn other notable lapel pins, such as a golden pin that resembled a fighter jet in 2025. Trump wore the gold. Well, we don't need to go through the history of his lapel pins. Here is, if you want to see what it is, there is the Happy Trump. There you are. Trump often wears an American flag lapel pin, popularized in the late 60s and early 70s by Richard Nixon. According to reports, Nixon's chief of staff, H.R. Hadman, was supposedly inspired by actor Robert Redford's character in the film The Candidate. Over time, the American flag lapel pin has gained popularity. We know all about that. Now, you can find the Happy Trump pin on Amazon for $9.99. The pin was first made available in October of 2020. At the time of publication, the pin is currently unavailable. In the hours that followed the meeting, various Happy Trump pins appear to be available for sale on platforms such as eBay. What appears to be the same pin the president was wearing is available on eBay for $26.99, another selling for $30. Since then, others have followed suit, and various iterations of the pin appear to be available for sale on the platform. The Happy Trump pin design also appeared to be available for purchase in the form of a water bottle sticker on platforms such as Etsy. All right, there you go if you're interested for your next dressing up appearance. There is the Happy Trump pin. All right, so we're going to talk about the Nobel Peace Prize. We're going to talk a little bit about Greenland. I do want to mention, give kind of an update on the Clintons. We're going to talk about ICE. My goodness, we have so much to get to, but I realize I'm running late. So stay with us. We'll be right back. Keep those waves. Keep those comments coming in, and we'll be right back.
Hi, this is Tom Witzel, owner of Hesselson's in Amara Heights. At Hesselson's, we care about your well-being and overall health, whether it's relieving stress, muscle recovery, increasing circulation, or just revitalizing the body. Hesselson's now has 2 complete line of infrared and traditional rock saunas in our new and expanded showroom. Come in today and see why owning a sauna is a start of your new healthy lifestyle. Hesselson's is still locally and family-owned and operated in Amara Heights. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
In Albany, Buffalo, was born.
Nearly 500 kilos of cocaine has been seized in a bust.
Day 1 of the National Glider Competition.
Give kids time. Just 5 minutes a day. Ask them how they're feeling. And listen.
From Excel member service to easy, reliable, and secure digital banking and a deep commitment to the communities we call home, First Heritage is proud to be part of our members' everyday lives. That's why we're honored to be named Best Credit Union in the Twin Tiers 5 years in a row and Best Locally Owned Business in 2025. To our members, thank you for your trust, your loyalty, and your votes. And if you're not yet a member, visit fhfcu.org or stop by your local branch and see for yourself what makes First Heritage the best.
To those who serve, thank you.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Jonathan Turley asks, Clintons dare the House to hold them in criminal contempt. Will it work? Woody Allen famously said 80% of success in life is just showing up. When it comes to Bill and Hillary Clinton and possible congressional contempt, it may be 100%. The two politicians have decided to defy lawful subpoenas issued by the House. For the House Oversight Committee, now is also the time for contempt proceedings. Now, we know that Clinton's argument was they were fighting for our country, literally saying they were fighting for our country. Quote, every person has to decide when they have seen or had enough and are ready to fight for this country, its principles, and its people, no matter the consequences. For us, now is that time. So, again, fighting for our country by not testifying in the Epstein investigation. But this boils down to, Jonathan Turley says, they seem to be repeating the same pitch that Bill Clinton gave in the Lewinsky matter. I ask you to turn away from the spectacle of the past 7 months, to repair the fabric of our national discourse, and to return our attention to all the challenges and all the promise of the next American century. Despite a federal judge finding that Clinton lied under oath, it worked. The problem is that a defendant like Clinton can always argue in a perjury case that it depends on what the meaning of the word is. In this case, it does not depend on what the meaning of the word testify is. Whatever the meaning, showing up is a critical element. It is hard to argue that you are not in contempt when you make your contempt for the committee in your defense. So there's just a quick update. The White House demands that the Nobel Foundation at least officially note Trump's unprecedented accomplishments. This is after he received the 18-karat gold Nobel Peace Prize from Maria Corina Machado. But the foundation said officially, and they've made sure to say it numerous times, quote, prizes shall be awarded to those who have conferred the greatest benefit to mankind, and it specifies who has the right to award each respective prize. A prize can therefore not, even symbolically, be passed on or further distributed. They've made sure to bring that up over and over again. Stephen Chung, White House spokesperson, said the Nobel Prize has now issued multiple statements, comments on President Trump, who rightfully deserves the Nobel Peace Prize for bringing peace to at least 8 wars. Instead of trying to play politics, they should highlight the president's unprecedented accomplishments. I don't think we will. We've talked about this in the past. It has become a very political organization. So I don't see a scenario where he will ever receive one. They're saying, oh, by the way, I had a comment. I forgot to read this when we came back in. Good morning. Good morning. Did you happen to see that a Harvard professor of all people has calculated the existence of God? I did not. I missed that. I'd love to know more about that. But talking about the Nobel Peace Prize, according to anonymous sources with The Guardian, there's a growing sense of embarrassment among mid-level and senior officials within FIFA, because FIFA awarded its Peace Prize to Donald Trump. The U.S. president was handed the award at the World Cup draw in Washington back in December, with the FIFA president saying, we want to see hope, we want to see unity, we want to see a future. This is what we want to see from a leader, and you definitely deserve the first FIFA Peace Prize. Since then, we know that we've captured Maduro and his wife. There was unease within FIFA at the time of Trump receiving the award, with the governing body not disclosing any details of the selection process. Now, though, that has shifted to deep embarrassment, according to one senior FIFA source. Multiple officials have expressed their unease about the way it was handled. A highly placed official who declined to go on record, so all this, again, anonymous sources on The Guardian, admitted that staging the World Cup in the U.S. is going to be a very delicate and difficult period in the months leading up to the tournament, as well as during the competition itself. It is understood that it has been left to deal with the political matters concerning Trump for the World Cup, as others fear it may tarnish their reputations. Quote, involving myself in the politics surrounding the World Cup is something I stay far away from. My job concerns football on the pitch and nothing else, a FIFA source said. FIFA, however, doubled down on the decision, saying it did not comment on hearsay. FIFA strongly supports its annual Peace Prize, an award to recognize exceptional actions for peace and unity. FIFA notes that 2025 Nobel Peace Prize recipient Maria Corina Machado has given her medal to Trump. FIFA has strong relations with President Trump, along with leaders from fellow co-hosts Canada and Mexico. This has resulted in good working relationships, leading to, for example, in the U.S., the formation of the White House Task Force for the FIFA World Cup. So a lot of anonymous sources saying they're embarrassed that Trump received the FIFA Peace Prize. All right, are you ready for our Greenland update? President Trump said that Denmark has not been able to do anything to get the Russian threat away from Greenland, and said now it's time and it will be done. NATO has been telling Denmark for 20 years that you have to get Russian threat away from Greenland. Denmark has been unable to do anything about it, said Trump on Truth Social. Trump has repeatedly insisted he will settle for nothing less than the ownership of Greenland, an autonomous territory, I think it's a semi-autonomous territory, of Denmark. Leaders of both Denmark and Greenland have insisted the island is not for sale, as we know. Trump on Saturday vowed to implement a wave of increasing tariffs on European allies until the U.S. is allowed to buy Greenland. The encroaching presence of China and Russia makes Greenland vital to U.S. security interests. Trump said Danish and other European officials have pointed out that Greenland is already covered by NATO's collective security pact. Chuck Schumer has vowed to block Donald Trump's tariffs on Europe, saying Donald Trump's foolhardy tariffs have already driven up prices and damaged our economy, and now he is only making things worse. It is incredible that he wants to double down on the stupidity by imposing tariffs on our closest allies for his quest to take over Greenland. Senate Democrats will introduce legislation to block those tariffs before they do further damage to the American economy and our allies in Europe. But Trump announced, as I mentioned, that world peace is at stake. China and Russia want Greenland, and there's not a thing that Denmark can do about it. They currently have 2 dog sleds as protection, one recently added. Only the United States of America under President Donald J. Trump can play in this game, and very successfully at that. Now, the kind of list of anti-Trump Republicans, they've been quoting this, for instance, on the Hill, but I saw it on Friday. Republicans turning on Trump. Well, it's Thom Tillis and Lisa Murkowski. Lisa Murkowski turns on Trump at every opportunity. They both slammed the tariffs, with Tillis calling them bad for America, bad for American business, and bad for America's allies. Murkowski said we are already seeing the consequences of these measures in real time. Our NATO allies are being forced to divert attention and resources to Greenland, a dynamic that plays directly into Putin's hands by threatening the stability of the strongest coalition of democracies the world has ever seen. So Chuck Schumer vowing to block Donald Trump's tariffs on Europe. Rand Paul, how am I doing? Yeah, Rand Paul says that U.S. in active war with Venezuela. Yes, we're jumping from Greenland to Venezuela. Also, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the Bills game. I know we talked about that a little bit earlier on, about your thought about that play. Rand Paul said that the U.S. engaged in an ongoing war with Venezuela, following what he described as recent U.S. actions involving the country. This was on Meet the Press. He said, this is an act of war. It's an ongoing war to continue to take their oil, ongoing war to distribute it. I still hope it works out for the best, but we are still involved in an active war in Venezuela. He added that we have hundreds of ships with 100% blockade of the coast. This oil will be sold at its market. Trump wrote about the oil. This oil will be sold at its market price, and the money will be controlled by me as president of the United States to ensure it's used to benefit the people of Venezuela and the United States. So again, Rand Paul saying we're in an act of war. Andres Oppenheimer at the New York Post, Andre Oppenheimer writes about Latin American policy and economic issues in the Oppenheimer Report, saying that on a nearly 3-week visit to South America, during which I interviewed the president of Argentina and Peru, many friends asked me the same question: who is actually running Venezuela? My answer is the same crooks as before. President Trump has claimed he's running Venezuela following the U.S. raid that captured former dictator Maduro, and even posted a picture of himself on social media calling himself acting president of Venezuela. He also said he has talked extensively with former Maduro vice president, now interim president, Delcy Rodriguez, describing her as a terrific person who will presumably follow his command. She is indeed under pressure from a U.S. naval blockade that could cripple Venezuela's vital oil exports. To be sure, Venezuela has released dozens of political prisoners since Maduro was captured in Caracas on January 3rd and flown to New York to face narco-terrorism charges. Still, more than 800 political prisoners remain. Rodriguez also vowed to increase oil shipments to the U.S., something Maduro repeatedly offered in exchange for a lifting of U.S. oil sanctions. More important, Rodriguez and virtually all top officials of Maduro's dictatorship remain in charge of the army, police, intelligence services, the paramilitary squads, judiciary, and state media. The regimes, they stop people in the streets to check their phones and detain those who have posted anti-Maduro statements online. What's more, Rodriguez continues to refer to her former boss as the legitimate president of Venezuela, and state television describes his capture as a kidnapping. So at the end of the day, the same crooks are in charge, according to Mr. Oppenheimer. I agree, in the absence of a timetable for the return of the rule of law, Trump will soon move on to other foreign policy priorities. The Rodriguez regime will entrench itself as a tolerable dictatorship from the White House, and Venezuela will be neither rich nor free. The time to start that process is now. And when we come back, we're going to talk about Iran. Keep those waves, keep those comments coming in. I know the schedule's a little bit different. I hope you have a nice Martin Luther King Day. I hope you spend some time as a day of service to your community. I'm confused why you'll read Rick's nonsense, but not something as interesting and as important as the above. I said I did not hear about that. I would like to know more. And that was in reference to a Harvard professor calculating the existence of God. So I don't understand why you're upset. I said I would like to know more. I'm sorry I didn't read, you didn't send the article along, so I didn't have the opportunity to do my homework while it was live on the air. So that's, I'm confused by the anger. Let's take a short break. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
Accidents happen. If you're looking for an honest, dependable, trustworthy auto repair shop, bring it to Nappy's. Or if it's undrivable, have it towed right to us. It's your choice where to take your vehicle. Nappy's works with all insurance companies and will manage all vehicle calibrations. Nappy's has a state-of-the-art paint booth and a new and improved repair shop. Let our friendly staff of specialists help you through the process and get it done right the first time. Commit to Nappy's, family-owned for 3 generations.
Thank you for your business.
What matters most is that our customers, our communities, and our heroes are taken care of. We start by providing American-made gasoline, which means you can buy local, keeping America and your communities strong. We also support vital charities every year and hold Operation Give Thanks each November to help provide a better future for our veterans and their families. We're proud to support the communities we live and work in, and we're doing our best every day to make our towns a better place. Quick though, driving America.
Crispy hot hash browns, sweet savory McGriddles, refreshingly cool iced coffee. Oh, don't mind me, just doing my morning affirmations. Crispy hot hash browns, sweet savory McGriddles.
Mix and match a sausage McMuffin with egg McMuffin, or sausage, egg, and cheese McGriddles. Get any 2 for just $5 and pair it with $1.99 any size iced coffee.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Lease a brand new 2025 Subaru Forester Limited Hybrid all-wheel drive featuring heated steering wheel and power liftgate for only $329 a month for 36 months. Make car buying simple. Drive your deal at Simmons.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson's studio, talking about Iran. Trump calls for new leadership in Iran, and it's time for the sick Ayatollah to go. This was on X. President Trump saying it's time to look for new leadership in Iran. What he is guilty of as a leader of a country is the complete destruction of the country and the use of violence at levels never seen before. He went, now we're going to talk about Ayatollah Khamenei and some of the leaders and what they've been saying. But Khamenei over the weekend saying, we consider the U.S. president a criminal for the casualties, damages, and the slander he inflicted on the Iranian nation. The U.S.'s goal is to devour Iran. So that's when Trump fired back, saying the man is a sick man who should run his country properly and stop killing people. His country is the worst place to live anywhere in the world because of poor leadership. The Ayatollah doubled down after that and claimed agents of the U.S. and Israel operating inside Iran were the ones who murdered several thousand people, including a 3-year-old girl. The U.S. must be held accountable, said Ayatollah Khomeini. Worse than the internal criminals are the international criminals. We will not let go of them either. After threatening the U.S. was locked and loaded and ready to go earlier this month if the Islamic Republic continued to slaughter its people, Trump changed his mind this week. His decision came after the regime said it would halt plans to conduct mass executions. Trump said, although Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu reportedly asked him to delay any U.S. attacks on Tehran and Arab nations, urged the president against destabilizing the region. Now, Iran is threatening to continue their mass executions of protesters arrested during its brutal crackdown, saying they would unleash an all-out war. Iranian officials say at least 5,000 demonstrators have been slaughtered in the streets for speaking out against the authoritarian rule. We actually have an Iranian doctor that was quoted as the number could be as high as 16,000, calling it a genocide under the cover of digital darkness, but I'll continue. Ayatollah Khomeini has blamed the deaths on U.S. and Israel-linked terrorists and rioters. A series of actions have been identified as moreb, an Islamic term meaning to wage war on God, which carries the death penalty, which is among the most severe Islamic punishments. The renewed saber rattling comes just after President Trump thanked the Islamic Republic's leadership on Truth Social for canceling the executions of over 800 people headed for the gallows. Among them was that young protester Irfan Sultani, 26 years old, which kind of became the focus of this. Trump has vowed to intervene militarily if the regime killed demonstrators and has sent U.S. military assets, including an aircraft carrier, to the region, but he has yet to announce details on further plans. Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian warned in a social media post that its response to any unjust aggression will be harsh and regrettable, and it would be tantamount to an all-out war against the nation. So according to an Iranian doctor, the Iranian regime has killed at least 16,500 people and injured over 330,000 more as they continue to ruthlessly target demonstrators and even uninvolved citizens. The alarming death toll, far exceeding the roughly 3,100 verified by activist groups, was detailed in a new report from doctors on the ground treating victims amid the slaughter. The disturbing figures compiled from 8 major hospitals and 16 emergency departments reveal between 16,500 and 18,000 people have been killed, with most victims believed to be younger than 30. This is a whole new level of brutality, said Professor Amir Parasta, an Iranian-German eye surgeon. In 2022, they were using rubber bullets and pellet guns, taking out eyes. This time, they're using military-grade weapons, and what we're seeing are ghost guns and shrapnel wounds in the head, neck, and chest. I've spoken to dozens of doctors on the ground, and they are really shocked and crying. These are surgeons who have seen war. Another 330 to 360,000 have been injured, including children and pregnant women. At least 1,000 people have lost an eye, with one hospital in Tehran reporting 7,000 eye injuries. There are so many shotgun-related eye injuries that we do not know whom to treat first, said one doctor. At least 26 women have been killed in the protest, according to Norwegian-based Henga Organization for Human Rights, which has been working to verify the death toll. So upwards of 16 to 18,000 people could have been murdered by the Iranian regime. They're calling it genocide under the cover of digital darkness. Now, fears grow. I know I'm running late. Fears grow that Iran's internet blackout may turn permanent to weaken dissent. Iran is now over 10 days in a near total internet shutdown, with the Islamic Republic defending as a means to undermine the alleged terrorists behind the anti-government protests that have gripped the country. The blackout, which has left protesters unable to coordinate and unite, will allegedly carry on until at least the Iranian New Year, which is on March the 20th, said a government representative. Tehran's plans threaten to hurl Iran into a new age of digital isolation. that would allow the current regime to roll out mass internet censorship to crush any and all dissent. There would be no exception of reopening international internet access, and even afterwards, users' access to international internet will never return to its previous form. Tehran first cut off the internet services across the nation. The blackout allowed the latest protests remain uncoordinated with a lack of internet access, also burying the full extent of Iran's brutal crackdown on the demonstrators. But some images and footage of the violence against the protesters have gone through and went viral, triggering international security as the death toll rose Sunday to at least 5,000, as we said, upwards of 16 to 18,000, depending on who you're talking about. It is interesting that there are not protests in the street here in America in support of the Iranian protesters and attack on the Iranian leadership, if you will, going to show that it's kind of a pick or choose, a lot of hypocrisy there when it comes to the protests. Very quick to be anti-Semitic and pro-Palestine, pro-Hamas, but not the same type of vocal support for the people in Iran. So, Michael, how am I doing on time? Michael, before we're going to move on to ICE in the next segment, but Michael Goodwin said Trump spared the Ayatollah for now, but his opposition in Iran, or his options in Iran, are still wide open. We'll talk about that when we return. I realize I'm running late. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
Nearly 500 kilos of cocaine has been seized in a bust.
Thousands lined the pier at Seneca Harbor. Race weekend brought thousands to Watkins Glen International.
Hundreds and Horseheads joined other cities around the country on Saturday for the No Kings protest.
Dr. Seuss's The Cat in the Hat, live on stage. The world's #1 Cat in the Hat show is coming to North America. Young and old alike will delight in this brand new adaptation of the Dr. Seuss classic as it comes to life before your very eyes. The Cat in the Hat.
March 25th at the Clemens Center in downtown Elmira. Tickets at clemenscenter.org.
You make everything harder.
You're a pest.
Nobody wants you. Nobody likes you.
You are just full of raising questions and never having an answer.
If I can face MS, I can face anything.
A cure for me would be to go back to where I was.
A cure would stop you dead in your tracks.
And when we get you, it's going to be a great day.
It ends here.
MS ends with us.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Check out our newsreels and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio on Market Street Corning. So, like I said, Michael Goodwin says that Trump spared the Ayatollah for now, but his options in Iran are still wide open. Almost from the day Donald Trump entered the political arena, the legacy media have been committed to depicting him as a trigger-happy warmonger who'd rather shoot first and ask questions later. They just did it again, offering another example of how the big, fat outlets remain the undisputed kings of misinformation. Their default move is to make sure the facts never get in the way of a Democratic talking point. If that means they have to occasionally sing in tune with America's enemies, so be it. Their deceptions have been front and center in the latest twist in the long-running dispute between Washington and the mad mullahs of Iran. Sometimes it's hard to find a major difference between how the American media and Ayatollah al-Khamenei describe Trump. To both, the president is always the problem. If they had been right this time, we'd now be hearing Trump give the command for bombs away over Tehran. Instead, there he was on the White House lawn Friday, pointedly thanking the mullahs for not following through on their vow to execute hundreds of political prisoners that they rounded up in the protests. Iran canceled the hanging of over 800 people, Trump said, adding that he greatly respected the move. To those with an honest and open mind, the week's roller coaster ride illustrated how Trump's fondness for talking about America's military might is often purposeful sword rattling. The bluster this time and often serves as an invitation to negotiators or is so persuasive that he gets most of what he wants without having to fire a single shot. As the week began, the scenes in Iran looked like a 5-alarm fire, with the mullahs slaughtering their own citizens for the crime of protesting a collapsing economy. The calls for America to stop it grew louder, and Trump was game. He gave every indication that our military was locked, loaded, and ready to go. In a bristling Tuesday post on social media, he sounded prepared to take action with a promise to the brave demonstrators that help is on its way. Keep protesting, take over your institutions. He urged those in the streets, adding, save the names of the killers and abusers. They will pay a big price. Within 24 hours, he pulled back and explained the move by saying very important sources told him that Iran had stopped killing protesters and was now moving forward with mass executions. It's not clear where he got that information, or is not moving forward, with mass executions. It's not clear where he got that information, but so far it's been largely accurate. Additionally, reports surfaced that Trump was hearing warnings from our regional allies, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Oman, and Turkey, that hitting Iran could ignite a much bigger war because of counterattacks by Iran and its heavily armed terror allies such as Hezbollah in Lebanon and the Houthis in Yemen. Some warnings raised the possibility of an Iranian civil war that could unleash a flood of refugees. Netanyahu also asked Trump to postpone any attack so Israel would have more time to prepare for the likelihood that it would be a target of Iranian retaliation. Trump rebuffed the chatter that pressure from foreign leaders led him to pull back. Nobody convinced me, I convinced myself, he told reporters. He also added that the regime's canceling of executions had a big impact on his decision. The Wall Street Journal added 2 other factors. First, military advisors told the president the U.S. must beef up its resources in the region to carry out a significant attack and also protect our troops and allies. The second reason was that Trump was told that a military attack probably would not topple the Islamic regime, but would result in stepped-up brutality against demonstrators. The upshot is that Trump's decision to hold off on a military strike was clearly the right and prudent call, at least for now. And he has preserved the right to move at the best time and under the most favorable circumstances. Meanwhile, it is now clear that demonstrators, though historically bold and determined, or heroically bold and determined, did not have nearly enough supporters to overthrow the government. A key marker is that no part of the military, or Bazil, a brutal paramilitary group, broke ranks or refused orders to shoot to kill, including even civilians who were not protesting. And while the death toll is said to be more than 3,000, the government successfully shut down the internet, meaning only scattered bits and pieces of the bloody repression were seen outside the country. The sense that that moment has passed was reflected in a Saturday speech by the Ayatollah, where he declared victory and vowed that his government would break the back of the seditionists. He offered harsh criticism of Trump and blamed him for the casualties. He also said in the social post that we find the U.S. president guilty due to the casualty, damages, and slander he inflicted upon the Iranian nation. Ayatollah al-Khamenei didn't mention Venezuela, but is no doubt on his mind. His nation's alliance with Maduro suffered a big blow when the U.S. snatched the dictator in a brilliant raid and flew him to New York to face broad criminal charges. For his part, Trump quickly responded to Ayatollah's criticism by telling Politico, it's time to look for new leadership in Iran, marking the first time he's been that specific. He added what he is guilty of is complete destruction of the country and the use of violence at levels never seen before. In order to keep the country functioning, even though the function is a very low level, the leadership should focus on running his country properly, like I do in the U.S., and not killing people by the thousands in order to keep control. Leadership is about respect, not fear and death. The cleric declared that Netanyahu and Trump should get ready for hard revenge from the system. Perhaps, but Trump is a persistent man. He spared the supreme leader this time, but when he decides the moment and circumstances are right, the Ayatollah will get his just desserts. When we come back, we're going to talk about Minnesota. We got some comments coming in. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox.
Accidents happen. If you're looking for an honest, dependable, trustworthy auto repair shop, bring it to Nappy's. Or if it's undrivable, have it towed right to us. It's your choice where to take your vehicle. Nappy's works with all insurance companies and will manage all vehicle calibrations. Nappy's has a state-of-the-art paint booth and a new and improved repair shop. Let our friendly staff of specialists help you through the process and get it done right the first time. Commit to Nappy's, family-owned for 3 generations.
Thank you for your business.
Dear Winter, we're coming. Our squad of vehicles with all-wheel drive and four-wheel drive, is ready to take you on. Safety's the name of our game. Bundle up. Toyota.
Right now, you can lease Tacoma for just $259 a month or get 2.99% APR for a full 72 months on a new Tundra. Find yours at Toyota.com. Toyota. Let's go places.
When a child is fighting a critical illness, one truth touches us all. Every child deserves a childhood. A wish sparks a ripple of hope that transforms communities far and wide. And when we grant wishes together, we create a movement of kindness, strength, and unity. Yay! Become a wish maker today and be part of a journey that truly
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Ken writes in, what a perfect way to end the first hour with a comment from Ken. He said, I was watching the Sunday shows and listened to Jacob Frey, the Minneapolis mayor, who was interviewed on all three of the Sunday morning propaganda shows. He explained that crime is low in his city. Everyone loves everyone else in the city, and the residents are just trying to help their neighbors that are being attacked by ICE. I'm thinking that Minneapolis is the new city of brotherly love. Sounds like a wonderful place to relocate to get away from New York's rising costs and crime. I think we should practice being good neighbors to the people that we have differing views from. So let's give the sheeple in New York State and New York City the first opportunity to relocate there. I think that's a great idea, Ken. Of course, he's loves it right now, this Jacob Frey. He's making his name out there. He loves the attention. By the way, speaking of him, and we know that he was cursing a lot in recent interviews, there's a piece, where was it from? Axios, I think. I'm not going to be able to find it, but they call it the rise of the potty mouth politician, the rise of political potty mouth. That's what it is, from Axios. The big picture: in the era of politics often defined by the in-your-face style of President Trump, lawmakers are dropping curse words like the Wolf of Wall Street went to Washington. Robert Thompson, the founding director of the Blear Center for Television and Popular Culture at Syracuse University, told Axios the U.S. long operated in two parallel languages, how we spoke with one another and the language of public discourse. One could argue that until these past couple of years, that separation was still pretty extreme. The Trump era in some ways has set new rules. They reference Jacob Frey saying, "Get the blank out" to ICE. Michael Adams, an English professor at Indiana University, Bloomington, and the author of In Praise of Profanity, says Frey's fiery command was a great moment in swearing. It was an instance in which I think it's fair to say that swearing was eloquent. All right, they give other examples. They talk about Trump. I don't know what words you want to use. Responding to that auto worker. Also, Vice President J.D. Vance on social media, cussing. Chuck Schumer swearing recently. Kamala Harris uses cuss words a lot. Anyway, the rise of the political potty mouth. We got to take a break. Hour number 1 in the books. Hour number 2, mere moments away. We're going to talk about Minnesota. We have a lot here about the Democrat Party in general. So make sure you get your comments, get your waves in, and we'll be right back.
What better way to start or end every day than relaxing in your very own Hesselson's hot tub? Massage therapy, relaxation, stress reliever, pain management, soothing muscles, or just spending time with a loved one. Hot water therapy really does make every day better. Hesselson's has been a part of this great community for over 70 years, still being locally owned and operated. So make the drive to Hesselson's and start making your path to a better life today. And after 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Can you access quality health insurance for 2026? Yes, New York. Enroll or renew today. Visit nystateofhealth.ny.gov or call 1-855-355-5777.
Let's say this is your
head. It's way too easy to let it fill up with the wrong stuff. Anxieties, pressure, worries, school, social life, family problems. You can do nothing and keep it all in. Much better to let it out. Talk to friends, parents, a trusted teacher. A solid first step you can take is visit yourlifeyourvoice.org. You'll find proven, practical ideas that can help you get back on track. You only have one head. Look after it.
The Twin Tiers' first prime-time local news. Catch weather, local and national news, events, and more with our anchors, Dante, Haley, and Ann. Find out what's happening in your community and more by watching Big Fox 10 p.m. News on WYDC.
I'm not sure. How long did that cut off, folks? Did you see that it was playing an old show? I just noticed it as I went to break. How long has it switched back and forth? Did I miss a lot of time because we had a great comment from Ken, or was it just right at the top of the hour? I would love to know if you were paying attention, because I just looked over, and it was an old Frankly Speaking, I think from last week. So please let me know if we missed a lot, because we had a great comment from Ken. I can reread that if necessary. Well, welcome to hour number 2 of Frankly Speaking, broadcasting live from the Hesselson's studio. Cut off 5 seconds. Oh, okay. All right, that's not too bad. Okie doke. I can live with that. Thank you. Yeah, I'm not really sure what happened there. That's a strange one. Okay, so the mob storms a Minneapolis church during the worship to target a pastor they say has ICE ties. A swarm of anti-ICE protesters burst into a St. Paul, Minnesota church in the middle of Sunday service and accused the pastor of working with Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Now, I'm hearing a whole bunch of different. Some said 10 seconds, some said 5 seconds. Mark, it wasn't a half an hour, was it? A half an hour? No, I don't think it was cut off that long. Anyway. The demonstrators with the Racial Justice Network stormed into the city's church and called out resident pastor David Eastwood, who they accused of moonlighting as the acting field office director for ICE in Minnesota. David Eastwood is listed as an employee with the field office, but it's still unclear if that is the same man as the city's church pastor. The service disruptors chanted slogans heard at the dozens of other protests that have wreaked havoc around Minneapolis, including some invoking Renee Nicole Good's name. Others specifically slandered Eastwood for misrepresenting the ideals of his faith through his support of ICE. This cannot be a house of God while harboring someone directing ICE agents to wreak havoc on our community. I am a reverend on top of being a lawyer and an activist, so I come here in the power of the Almighty God, one protester, Nakima Levy Armstrong, told ousted CNN host Don Lemon during his live stream. Eastwood was not at the Sunday service, that should be noted. The congregation's lead pastor, Jonathan Parnell, said the bombardment was shameful and asked anyone who wasn't intending to worship to leave. The Department of Justice is probing the demonstration at the church for potential violations of civil rights laws, specifically for interfering with Christian worshipers. At DHS saying agitators aren't just targeting our officers, now they're targeting our churches too. They're going from hotel to hotel, church to church, hunting for federal law enforcement who are risking their lives to protect Americans. DHS and Minnesota leaders, namely Governor Tim Walz and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey, have repeatedly clashed over ICE's mission in Minnesota. The situation reached a tipping point when Brown, a 37-year-old mother, was shot and killed by ICE officer Jonathan Ross. Brown, I thought it was good. I think they made a mistake. DHS has insisted that ICE won't be deterred and accused Walz and Frey of whipping these mobs into a frenzy and then allowing them to run rampant. Frey, in turn, accused ICE of terrorizing people simply because they're Latino or Somali. People in Minneapolis are speaking up. They're speaking up peacefully. They're standing up for their neighbors. And this is not just about resisting Trump. This is about loving and caring for people that call this city home. And it's been inspiring, he said on 60 Minutes. Now, I don't know if you've seen the video that's went viral, but an ICE agent in the Twin Cities slammed a group of agitators. The agitators were honking their car horns and impeding the Fed's operation. But this operation that the ICE officials were on was to nab a child sex offender. An Immigration and Customs Enforcement officer behind the wheel of a pickup truck rolled up alongside a reporter who was observing the altercation from their parked car. Ooh, my seat just gave out a little bit. Maybe a little. Wow. We're here to arrest a child sex offender, and you guys are out here honking, the masked agent said. You're not honking, we're press, the journalist said. The officer paused as he leaned out the window a little further and jabbed a finger towards a vehicle further down the street. That vehicle right there is honking and impeding on investigations while we're trying to arrest a child sex offender. That's who you guys are protecting. That's insane. It's insane, he could be heard telling the woman. Now, in New York City, socialists are mustering an army of 4,000 anti-ICE activists to bring Minnesota tactics, the same type of chaos and wreaking havoc, bringing it to the Big Apple. New York City socialists are mustering an army of more than 4,000 anti-ICE activists to form rapid response battalions and obstruct the feds in an expected imminent crackdown on illegal migrants in the Big Apple. Mayor Mamdani's comrades with the DSA, the Democrat Socialists of America, outlined the mission at a monthly meeting of their Immigrant Justice Working Group in the swanky Midtown digs of the Chinese Communist Party-linked People's Forum, where photos of communist idols like Fidel Castro and Che Guevara decorate the walls. Quote, as we've seen in other cities, we still do anticipate a big wave of federal immigration enforcement, said the DSA leader who only identified herself as Marina. It can be confusing, it can be scary, it can be kind of uncertain what's happening in New York right now, but we want to be on our front foot when it happens. The New York City chapter is training 2,000 Democrat Socialists of America members and another 2,000 non-members, along with activating 50 additional trainers. It's also beefing up staffing of its ICE hotline to operate 24/7. If you speak Pular, if you speak Creole, if you speak Fulani, come find us. We really want you on this team. The group didn't say what all of this will cost, but the member-funded organization repeatedly asked for money throughout the nearly 2-hour-long meeting, with one leader even going around the room with a red beanie soliciting cash donations in the socialist version of a collection plate. The majority of the crowd, of mostly white Gen Z socialists, said that this was that they were first time, and this is galvanized by the death of Renee Good. The anti-ICE group Good was part of, was training to resist immigration crackdowns and a model for the combative Minnesota tactics they hope to bring to New York City. ICE is a violent organization and has been emboldened to respond to a lot of work that many of you participated in. The immigration crisis is part of the U.S. imperialist project, and yet we treat immigrants to the experience of ICE. Anyway, you get the idea. Now, according to Politico, Governor Hochul's proposal to rein in Donald Trump's aggressive immigration enforcement tactics are putting swing seat Democrats in a tight spot. Republicans are eager to capitalize on state-level efforts to undermine deportation as a cudgel against vulnerable House Democrats, especially those representing the bellwether New York suburbs. Left-leaning Democrats responding to eroding support for Trump's immigration policies after the shooting of Renee Good are increasingly willing to take a confrontational approach with federal law enforcement. The rapidly shifting events driving public opinion, Trump's escalating deployment of Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents, and the Democrats' desire to protect undocumented communities has created treacherous political crosscurrents for swing seat lawmakers. And the Empire State, home to a large immigrant population and several contested House districts that may determine control of the chamber, is case in point. Quote, they're going to have to be really careful how they talk about this, said Laura Curran, a Democrat and former Nassau County executive. We don't want to talk about defunding the police or all that stuff. Proposals by Hochul and the Democrat-dominated state legislature to put guardrails around Trump's immigration tactics have not been enthusiastically received by vulnerable House Democrats. Representative Tom Suozzi, who, by the way, he's running for re-election, of course, Tom Suozzi, and he has not asked Governor Hochul to campaign with him or Letitia James. Just kind of interesting. Keep that as something in your back pocket. I think that shows Suozzi realizing that maybe Hochul and Letitia James are popular in far left circles, but not in the real world. And Josh Riley would not comment on the governor's policy pushback, which she outlined in the State of the State last week. And a third Democrat, Representative Lauren Gillen, provided a statement calling for federal immigration enforcement or federal immigration reform that avoided any mention of Hochul's proposal. New Yorkers haven't forgotten what Democrats' reckless open borders did to their state, and they won't stand for or against, a National Republican Congressional Committee spokesperson Maureen O'Toole. The stakes for New York Democrats to get the immigration policy right couldn't be any higher. Races in at least 4 seats in this deep blue state are expected to determine control of the House and the course of Trump's final 2 years in office. Republicans in the past have pointed to state-level laws in Democratic-dominated Albany to blast Democrats running for federal office. GOP candidates hammered Democrats, regardless of what office they were running for, over a controversial law that restricted cash bail. Gillen's office sidestepped questions about the Hochul-backed measures, saying our immigration system has been broken for decades and is in dire need of repair. Comprehensive reform must be done at the federal level. Congress should pass my Bipartisan Dignity Act to strengthen our border security, remove dangerous criminals, and provide a pathway for law-abiding immigrants to earn legal status. Anyway, you get the idea. Have to walk that tightrope as they near the midterm election, knowing that their constituents are not full of hate for our law enforcement like those in the far left, or like this, the Maryland Democrat. Listen to this. A Maryland Democrat has introduced legislation that would prevent U.S. immigration and customs enforcement agents from being hired in state or local law enforcement roles. The legislation, which is being called the Icebreaker Act of 2026, is sponsored by Maryland State Delegate Adrian Bofo. Under the proposed legislation, ICE agents hired under President Trump's presidency would be barred from working as police officers. Quote, this year I introduced legislation to ensure ICE officers can never serve in any of Maryland's police forces. Why? Because they are not trained, they are not qualified, and Marylanders deserve people who will protect them. I'll introduce similar legislation in Congress. Now, Betsy Smith, a spokesperson for the National Police Association, criticized Bofo's bill and pointed out that it seems like he wants people to believe that an ICE agent can't just come into their town and be a police officer as quickly as tomorrow. It sounds as though this politician wants people to believe that an ICE agent can just come into their town and tomorrow be a patrol officer in their town. It's simply ridiculous. Pointing out that there is rigorous hiring process for local law enforcement. Bofo claimed that everywhere he goes in Maryland's District 23, he is asked what is going to be done. There's only so much the state can do, but you know what I could do? Make sure that those ICE officers never have a job here in the state of Maryland. You want to work for another industry in Maryland? Sure. He also clarified that anyone who joined ICE before Trump was inaugurated in January 2025 is not affected by the legislation. What we're saying in Maryland is that any ICE officer, sworn agent, who saw the horrific violence that's been happening over the past year and said, you know what, I want to join that work. We don't want you to work at any point in time as police officers and law enforcement officers. Anyone who joined ICE before the inauguration of Donald Trump, anyone who actually swore the oath to try and protect the border and actually go after violent offenders is not affected. You are welcomed to Maryland with open arms. Maryland State Delegate Matt Morgan responded to the news about the Icebreaker Act by describing it as unserious and a stupid bill for the purpose of political pandering. What about ICE agents hired under Biden or Obama? Morgan questioned. We got a few other examples of this, but we got to take a short break. I see some comments coming in. Keep them coming in, and we'll be right back. Oh, we got some comments. Okay, we'll be right back after this. Stay with us.
New York State is putting nearly $60 million towards improving key roadways across the southern tier.
Many older homes are still at risk for exposing residents to high levels of lead.
The Nani Hood Parent Resource Center once again brought the community together for its annual Halloween parade.
Around the southern tier, Finger Lake stands out for its scenery and wine scene. This year's dry drought brought some positives to the crop. Lee Com Center is looking for fans to show up and show out.
Do you want free internet? Forever? You got it. Really. We mean it. Spectrum is offering free fiber-powered internet forever. Want it? Just call this number and switch 4 mobile lines to Spectrum for a lifetime of internet you never pay for. It's not a trial, it's an unprecedented offer. So we'll say it again. Free fiber-powered internet forever. Have you called yet? Because your internet is forever. But this ad ends now.
We are the keepers of the wild, America's original and most invested conservationists. For more than 80 years, we've been committed to conserving wildlife and the natural landscapes that define our nation. From rugged alpine ridgelines to peaceful tall grass prairies, we've supported the conservation of more than 36 million acres of American wildlands. Our funding has led to cleaner water, fresher air, and improved wildlife habitat. From abundant fish and waterfowl populations to robust deer and elk herds, nothing is more important than maintaining wild spaces for adventurers to explore and wildlife to thrive. We are America's hunters and target shooters, stewards of the American outdoors.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. So some people writing in, because we did have a little bit of a technical glitch there for a moment. So just be on the safe side, I want to read Ken's. We got 2 comments. One from Ken, one from Steve. Ken, I'm not sure if it broadcast, but I read it in the 6 o'clock hour. But just in case that had popped over to an old show for some reason, I want to make sure that we got Ken's comment. So Ken wrote in, I was watching the Sunday shows and listened to Jacob Frey, the Minneapolis mayor, who was interviewed on all 3 of the Sunday morning propaganda shows. He explained that crime is low in his city. Everyone loves everyone else in the city, and the residents are just trying to help their neighbors that are being attacked by ICE. I'm thinking that Minneapolis is the new city of brotherly love. Sounds like a wonderful place to relocate to get away from New York's rising costs and crime. I think we should practice being good neighbors to the people that we have differing views from. So let's give the sheeple in New York State and New York City the first opportunities to relocate there. I agree. Thank you, Ken. Steve writes in, good morning, Frank. Well, good morning, Steve. I get to see firsthand out of the brain how the brainwashing actually works on people. I know somebody that was a staunch conservative, but now he's running around calling this administration Nazis because they're supposedly going door to door asking for papers. I asked him if they're going to the doors of the addresses that are listed in the detainers for criminals. They're supposed to be turned over and they end up at a false location. But of course, he had no answer. All he says is that they are Nazis. I asked him what segment of the population is being taken off and being brought to concentration camps to be killed. Is that the same as removing legal immigrants that only in sanctuary cities and cities are refusing to cooperate and remove the criminals safely, placing ICE officers in danger because of the lies that are being told? Ken writes in, is it possible to put the current date above the town name, above the weather on the left side of the screen? I currently look at the temperature to see if the show is live or taped. Today I almost turned out because the temperature in Hornell said it was 28 degrees and we are only 15 degrees here. So I was thinking it was taped for Martin Luther King Day. Now the temps are back in line with what we are here. Yes, well, that is one way to check if it's a rerun. I get that. I don't know. That's kind of its own little app, Ken. It was kind of designed that way. And I don't think there's any way to change that. But I get what you're saying about it. But I don't plan on having any days off anytime soon. Just unless there's a technical glitch, they should all be new. So I do appreciate that. That's a really good idea, but I don't think It would be nice to have the date on there. I'll have to do some research, Ken. Great idea. Thank you. Okay. Yes, a lot of people commenting on that. I appreciate it. Eric Swalwell, who is running for governor of California, and there's a new piece out there we're going to get to when we talk about Democrats. There's a lawsuit currently that says Eric Swalwell does not live in California, so therefore is disqualified from running for governor. We'll talk about that in a moment. But he is vowing to strip ICE agents of their driver's license. This is not the first time he suggested that. While speaking at an event by the Empowerment Congress, Swalwell was asked about his plan to protect people in the state from ICE agents. Swalwell explained that he would direct law enforcement officials to use every power to prosecute ICE officials for battery, false imprisonment, and murder. They're going to lose their immunity. They're going to be able to drive, or they're not going to be able to drive. I will take your driver's licenses. Good luck walking to work, blankers. If they commit crimes, that they're going to be charged with crimes. It is falsely imprisoning people. If it's kidnapping, if it's assault, battery, they're going to be held accountable. I also think if the governor has the ability to issue driver's licenses to people in California, if you're going to wear a mask and not identify yourself, you're not going to be eligible to drive a vehicle in California. Bruce Springsteen, the probably billionaire at this point, definitely multi-millionaire, who charges, like $300 for general admission tickets and then lectures the audience in a political way, sometimes about the one percenters, even though he is a part of that 1%. During his concert, he said, "This is to send a message to the president. And as the mayor of the city has said, ICE should get the blank out of Minneapolis. So this one is for you and the memory of the mother of three, an American citizen, Renee Good. This next song is probably one of my greatest songs, and I don't want it to be out of water tonight. But I wrote the song as an ode to American possibility, both to the beautiful but flawed country that we are in and the country that we could be. Now, right now, we are living through incredibly critical times. The United States, the ideals and the values of which it stood for the past 250 years, is being tested as it has never been in modern times. Those values and those ideals have never been as endangered as they are right now. So, as we gather tonight in the beautiful display of love and care and thoughtfulness and community, if you believe in democracy and liberty, if you believe that truth still matters and that it's worth speaking out and it's worth fighting for, if you believe in the power of the law and that no one stands above it, if you stand against heavily armed masked federal troops invading American cities and using Gestapo tactics against our fellow citizens, if you believe you don't deserve to be murdered for exercising your American right to protest, then send a message to this president. And as the mayor of the city has said, ICE should get the blank out of Minneapolis. So this one is for you and the memory of the mother of three, an American citizen, Renee Good. Minneapolis's mayor, Frey, what's his first name? I just said it. Jacob Frey, thank you. He called ICE an occupying force on Face the Nation. We are doing the work to keep people safe in our city. And specifically, it is our local police officers. Is the state of Minnesota and our governor. We're doing everything possible to keep the peace, notwithstanding this occupying force that has quite literally invaded our city. I mean, we've got 600 cops in the city of Minneapolis, and we're talking about 3,000 plus ICE agents and border control that have come in. They're not making our city safer. In fact, our city has been safe. Crime is down in virtually every category, in virtually every neighborhood in the city. I mean, look, you can go through whatever rhetorical flourish you want, but when you have 3,000 ICE agents and border control come to the city, when you've got the supposed threat of 1,500 military coming to the city, yeah, that's very much what it feels like. When you're outnumber local police officers 5 and 6 to 1, that is the vibe. And so the bottom line is, if the goal were safety, this is how we got there. If the goal is safety, I could give you every anecdote to some of the violence that we're seeing is having them leave. Chris Van Hollen, Democrat from Maryland, says, I won't vote to fund Trump's lawless, brutal ICE operations. What I'm saying is exactly as you quoted, that I am not going to cast a vote, not one dime, to support this lawless, brutal Trump ICE operation. So what I'm saying is, unless there are significant reforms to rein in the lawless ICE operation, and there was a federal judge that just last week said the ICE agents were violating people's constitutional rights, right? They were preventing them from engaging in protecting peaceful protest. So my view is that there has to be a dramatic change. I don't foresee this administration doing that at this moment, so I'm saying I won't provide any funding. But what's happening right now is that the ICE agents are the ones breaking the law, not the peaceful protesters. So I believe we should not be funding an ICE operation that is completely lawless. It needs dramatic reform. You know, Donald Trump said he was going to go after the, quote, worst of the worst. If you look at their own data, 80% of the people they're apprehending around the country pose no public threat whatsoever. Instead of addressing that problem, they pulled down the data so we can no longer see it. Now, the Pentagon has readied 1,500 soldiers to possibly deploy to Minnesota, according to officials. That broke over the weekend after President Donald Trump threatened to invoke the Insurrection Act in response to the unrest there. The soldiers are assigned to 2 infantry battalions with the Army's 11th Airborne Division, which is based in Alaska and specializes in cold weather operations. The Army placed the units on prepare to deploy orders in case violence in Minnesota escalates, characterizing the move as a prudent planning. It is not clear whether any of them will be sent to the state. The White House said in a statement that it's typical for the Pentagon to be prepared for any decision the president may or may not make, said Sean Parnell. The Pentagon is always prepared to execute the orders of the commander-in-chief if called upon. This was first reported by ABC News. Minneapolis' Mayor Jacob Frey called the federal government's surge of immigration enforcement officials and the possible deployment of active duty soldiers an attempt to bait protesters in the city. We're not going to give them an excuse to do the things that clearly they're trying to set up to do right now, which is these 1,500 troops. I never thought in a million years that we would be invaded by our own federal government. Trump's border czar, we haven't heard about him in a while. Tom Homan, Congressman Tony Gonzalez hosted a telephone town hall featuring commentary from Tom Homan, President Trump's border czar and former acting ICE director. Homan offered Tim Walz and Jacob Frey a quick fix to the current ICE protests. Stop being a sanctuary city and a sanctuary state. Easy enough. Gonzalez called Homan a patriot to our wonderful country who has spent his entire adult life protecting our borders. We're all very grateful to have him as our border czar. Homan gave listeners in the town hall his quick answer to the unrest. The mayor and other local officials could fix this overnight by ending their sanctuary policies. Let us into the jails. Give us access in the jail so we can take custody of criminals in a controlled environment. Then we don't have to go into neighborhoods to find them. All right. Oh, this is something before we go. Oh my gosh. I'm running really late. Stay with us. We got a couple other things on this. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
Well, it's strained.
It is?
It's a repetitive motion injury. Do you do this a lot?
Well, I do give out a lot of checks. Now, what about this pain in my back?
Tender, huh? Do you play any contact sports?
Thank you.
Wow! That explains it. Stick to friendly nods for the next couple of weeks.
Did you know that children growing up with poor air quality have smaller lungs and higher rates of asthma than children that grow up with good air quality? And unfortunately, poor communities have poor air quality. IQ Air Foundation is working to change this. Today, the IQ Air Foundation provides filtration technology to schools with poor air quality through our Clean Air for Kids program. Our goal is to help over 50,000 school children every year breathe over 90% cleaner air indoors, helping to level the playing field, reduce barriers to learning, reduce sick days, and increase test scores. Mitigating poor air quality is key to environmental justice. Help Clean Air for Kids reach more children at IQAirFoundation.org.
There are a lot of temptations facing young people today, like electronic cigarettes and skateboarding. Each vape pod can contain the same amount of nicotine as a pack of cigarettes. This can lead today's youth to a lifelong addiction and severe lung damage. Recall and consider the facts before making a poor decision.
The health class film guy isn't the best person to talk to your kid about vaping.
Got a few minutes?
You are. Start the conversation with your child about vaping.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. Comment from viewer. Mark writes in reference to Minnesota, they keep calling them citizens. They are not. They are illegals. They broke the law for coming here illegally. Thank you very much, Mark. You're right. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning to you as well. If the news cameras left Minnesota, do you think that the protesters would too? Oh, good question. I don't know, because there is a very, I guess social media is very important to them. So I'm not sure if the news stopped reporting on it, if they would stop protesting, because really at the end of the day, they want to get the most likes. They want their photos to go viral. They want to show that they're doing the most, that they care the most, that they're the most aggrieved, they're the most offended. So really, I think it's more of a, what's the term I'm looking for? Like a selfish thing, that they want their friends to see them out protesting. So I don't think it would completely stop the protests. It would definitely cause some to leave, because they do love that attention of being on the media. I have not heard about this, and maybe you have. There's a new term, divisive term, for white women who are protesting, and this is being spread on the far right, according, I think this is New York Times. Vocal supporters are demonizing Renee Good, her partner, and their allies, with some even using an acronym called AWFUL, or Affluent White Female Urban Liberal, or AWFUL. I had not heard this. An AWFUL, an Affluent White Female Urban Liberal. I don't know who created this acronym. I had not heard that before today. They make it sound like everybody is using it. The term awful is not the first name targeting white women. People across the political spectrum once gleefully targeted so-called Karens, a term meant to denigrate women, usually white and middle-aged, caught using their privilege to bend the world in their direction. And the use of the word awful emerged well before Miss Good was killed. Conservative critics began attaching it to female protesters at least as far back as last summer. Conservatives say there is good reason to key in on such women. Eric Erickson, in a lengthy Substack, called Miss Good's death a tragedy, but one that Miss Good and her partner had brought on themselves. I'm not going to read all of his statements. I don't know why that's coming out. But that, if you were not aware, the new acronym that people are using, AWFUL, or Affluent White Female Urban Liberal. I did not know that. But hey, Ilhan Omar, what is it with all this swearing? She compares U.S. blanking states. I don't want to curse, but those of us who escaped places like that, the one place where we thought we would never experience this is the U.S. blanking states. And we should all be ashamed that this is the United States that is allowing for this to take place. And it is being broadcast to the rest of the world, where people are calling and saying, are you sure this is America? I'm ashamed. And we must do everything that we can to bring back the America we all escaped into. Now, Ilhan Omar, by the way, she does not like the United States. We've seen that time and time again. But did you see the House Oversight Committee is now probing Ilhan Omar's skyrocketing wealth? We talked about the fact that she essentially came into Congress relatively broke or relatively poor and now has $30 million in her bank account. The House Oversight Committee is probing Squad Representative Ilhan Omar's skyrocketing family wealth after a $9 billion Somali social service fraud scandal exploded in her district. Oversight Panel Chairman Representative James Comer said staff lawyers are exploring the extraordinary step of subpoenaing Omar's spouse, over his allegedly shady business practices. Quote, "We're going to get answers, whether it's through the Ethics Committee or the Oversight Committee, one of the two." Republicans want to know how Somali-born Omar and her politically connected husband, Tim Minette, went from being nearly broke to being worth $30 million in just a year, according to her 2024 disclosure forms. There are a lot of questions as to how her husband accumulated so much wealth over the past 2 years. It's not possible, Comer said. It's not. I'm a money guy. It's not possible. Now, federal law enforcement is also probing. We are investigating all politicians potentially connected to any of this fraud in Minnesota. You can read between the lines, said a law enforcement source. Unlike the Biden administration, which took no apparent action, Team Trump is on top of it. The comments came as the Post learned the FBI was briefed during the Biden administration on suspicions about an array of companies run by Omar's husband. Investment firm Rose Lake Capital, formed by Minette and partner Will Haller in 2022, is part of a web of companies created by the lefty squad member's husband of 5 years. Rose Lake Capital had a paltry $42.44 in its bank account in late 2022. Yet the firm rocketed in value from essentially zero, to up to $25 million in just 1 year. Associates were perplexed enough in 2024 about alleged irregularities and questions about where the money was coming from that they brought information to the attention of federal investigators. They wondered whether the business, including a winery, might be up to something improper, since none had a public track record. Several prominent people had previously been listed as advising the Rose Lake firm, but are no longer present on its bright pink webpage. They included former Senator Max Baucus, who once chaired the Senate Finance Committee and served as U.S. ambassador to China under Barack Obama. Baucus said he had a single phone call with Haller back in 2022 about a proposed deal to make storage units. Then nothing came of it, beyond occasional emails from Haller. They went on for about 4 or 5 months or so, then just radio silence. He stopped writing his emails about the investment, about how well he's doing, all that stuff. You can read between the lines. It sounds a little bit fishy. He said no one ever asked to use his name as an advisor on the company's website. There's some other names involved with this. Rose Lake's website claimed to have had officers with previous experience managing assets worth $60 billion, an amount that would make the firm a player that might attract notice. But Wall Street insiders told the Post they had never heard of Rose Lake or of anyone investing with them, despite the firm boasting on its website that had been running billions of dollars of assets under management and engagement in an array of high-end financial activities, including deals, mergers and acquisitions, debt reconstruction, and capital raising. So there you go. Enough on that. But the House and the feds are probing Representative Ilhan Omar's finances after her wealth skyrocketed $30 million in 1 year. We are running late. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
Young's Tires at 909 Chemung Street in Horseheads is the area's most trusted automotive repair facility. Check engine light on? Visit Young's Tires for a complete diagnostic check. Trust Young's Tires for complete repair, including tires, suspension, brakes, and more. For over 50 years, Young's Tires in Horseheads has been your trusted automotive repair shop. Whether you're an off-roader looking for a suspension upgrade or you want to get your star player to the game, trust the team at Young's Tires.
Give kids time. Just 5 minutes a day. Ask them how they're feeling. And listen.
Married for me had become my life. There's nobody to relate to back home, so you're alone. And that's the worst feeling in the world. And that's when I found Wounded Warrior Project. I like to say that they saved my life, but it took some time for me to actually realize that I'm worth it. And that's the biggest thing. You have to realize you're worth it.
Pride isn't just a gentle ebb and flow. It's a mighty force of change. Just like the tide shapes our shorelines, we can shape our planet's future and protect the world's oceans from its biggest threats. Help us turn the tide. Join Oceania's wave of ocean advocates who are making a difference in the world.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. All these comments coming in. Let's go. Sorry. We are back. I got distracted. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio on Market Street Corning. Viewer comments. Mark writes in, I see Kirsten Gillibrand wants to make it so no person in politics and their family members can invest in the stock market to get rich, as they have insider trading opportunities that most people don't. There's been a lot of people calling for this, and for quite some time, but I don't know if anything will come from it or not. One of those people that made a fortune off it, Nancy Pelosi, I'm going to talk about in just a second, get your opinion on. Comment from a different viewer. What part of illegal don't these Democrats understand? They all broke the law when they came here. Thank you very much. And Ken writes in, I have a great idea, which proved the old adage, even a blind squirrel gets a nut once in a while. Trump needs to propose buying Greenland and giving it to the Democrats and Democratic Socialists. They could change the name to Freeland. It is about 1/4 the size of the U.S., plenty of room for about half the population of the country. The Democrats should be on board with that idea, along with our liberal European allies. It gives them a chance to show the world how their ideas on society can create a better world. They can run it any way they see fit, as long as conservative Americans are allowed to keep military bases there, mine the minerals, and they pay their taxes. I like that idea. Thank you, Ken. A self-proclaimed deadhead, Nancy Pelosi was at the, I don't know if you want to call it a funeral, a celebration of life of Bob Weir. Bob Weir, one of the founding members of the Grateful Dead, recently passing away. I happened to watch this. She received some backlash after appearing at a tribute honoring Bob Weir, with some social media users accusing her of bizarre behavior, and it was very strange. Thousands gathered at San Francisco's Civic Center to celebrate the life of Bob Weir, who passed away earlier this month at the age of 78. Pelosi delivered a speech about Weir and appeared to sing and sway along on stage as musician John Mayer performed the classic Ripple. During portions of her remarks, Pelosi appeared to stumble over her words while reflecting on Weir's legacy. Bobby Weir was not just a magician, musician, a magician too. He was a force of nature. Weir gave me this sign, and I'll show it today because I said Bobby really loved democracy. He loved our country. Holding up a sign that read, vote. You know what he wanted everyone to do? Vote. Some people wondering if she was online, questioning if she was drunk at Bob Weir's homecoming, is what they call it. Others criticized her wardrobe choice, knowing that she wore a bright suit while nearly everyone else on stage appeared to be dressed in all black. Nancy Pelosi wearing a very somber magenta on stage at Bob Weir's funeral. Why is Nancy Pelosi speaking at the Bob Weir Memorial? My bingo card today didn't include Nancy Pelosi singing Ripple alongside with John Mayer at the Bobby Weir send-off. The public tributes also featured appearances by folk icon Joan Baez and country singer Winona Judd. All right, it was very strange. Oh, yes, also, oh no, we're out of time. Okay. All right, I got time for this. What do you think of this? Former Vice President Kamala Harris was given the award of the key to the city of Jackson, Mississippi. And the mayor declared last Wednesday, you might have missed it, Kamala Harris Day, in honor of her, quote, many accomplishments. The former Democratic presidential candidate, who is rumored to be mulling a second try at the Oval Office, oh really, was in Mississippi as part of her book tour promoting her memoir, 107 Days. Still promoting that, huh? She was honored by Jackson Mayor John Horn. Kamala, you don't know what you mean to Jackson, Mississippi. You don't know what you mean to Mississippi. You don't know what you mean to America, he gushed. And in recognition of your many, many firsts, in recognition of all the accomplishments that you have made, I signed a proclamation declaring January 14th Kamala Harris Day in Jackson, Mississippi. Harris clutched her hands to her chest in a show of humility. We need you now more than ever, the mayor said. The lavishing of awards on Harris, who was roundly thrashed in the 2024 presidential election, was met with mixed reviews online. Name one accomplishment, just one. The queen of cackles and word salad, said another. You'll have to ask Willie Brown, joked a third in reference to Harris's ex-lover. For her part, Harris appeared to take the acclaim of the crowd and the mayor of Jackson as no less than her due. Well, that was a great way to start, she said in her speech. She then went on to call Trump corrupt and incompetent, comparing him with white supremacist politician Bull Connor, though she appeared to confuse Connor's home state of Alabama with Mississippi. Harris boldly claimed she had predicted almost everything that's happened since Trump's reelection. She also opened up about emotions following her November 2024 defeat. I had no words except to say over and over again, we'll say, my goodness. All right, we got to take another short break. Some other updates on Democrats as we get ready to wrap up today's edition. So stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking.
In the heart of nature, collisions happen when you least expect them. Deer hits can turn a tranquil drive into a chaotic moment. When the unexpected happens, turn to Scott's Collision. At Scott's Collision, we understand the frustration of unexpected encounters with wildlife. From dents to more extensive damage, we've got you covered. When nature and your vehicle collide, trust Scott's Collision to bring it back to life.
New York State is putting nearly $60 million towards improving key roadways across the southern tier.
Many older homes are still at risk for exposing residents to high levels of lead.
The Nani Hood Parent Resource Center once again brought the community together for its annual Halloween parade.
Around the southern tier, Finger Lake stands out for its scenery and wine scene. This year's dry drought brought some positives to the crop. LeComm Center is looking for fans to show up and show out.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio, getting ready to wrap up today's edition. We've got some viewer comments. Mark writes in, what did Kamala Harris accomplish? I saw nothing, and she couldn't even handle the border. That's what many people, kind of echoing your point, Mark, saying online. Rick writes in, good morning, Frank. Good morning, Rick. Boy, oh boy, the DOJ is going to have to hire some more people with all these investigations going on. Now it's the governor of Minnesota and the mayor of Minneapolis. Must be that they made Don mad. Hey, how about the DOJ investigates Trump? Notice how some people have titles like governor and mayor. I have a title for Trump, but Frank can't say it. You'll never hear me say that and never see me type that. Some people call him Mr. You'll never hear me say that. Or never see me. I don't understand part. Trump is threatening Europe with more tariffs over Greenland. Is that how you treat people that will be there when you need them and should be there for them? Really? The whole of NATO and 75% of Americans say Trump is wrong. Donald, go golfing for a week and cheat your buddies and forget about it. And I hope some core out there says Trump can't impose any more tariffs on anyone and to pull the untrained, unskilled, knucklehead ICE people out of Minnesota. What's wrong with your leader? He's vengeful and nuts. Now, we were talking about Kamala Harris before break. Ben Shapiro, who I speculated it was either going to be him or Gavin Newsom that was going to be the pick for Harris for vice president. Of course, she ended up going with Tim Walz. A number of forces on the left questioned Josh Shapiro's ties to Israel. during Harris's rushed running mate selection process. In his new memoir out next week, the Pennsylvania governor says the former vice president and her vetting team were among them. So much so, Shapiro writes in a copy obtained by CNN that Dana Remus, a former White House counsel under President Joe Biden, who became a senior member of Harris's VP vetting team, asked him, "Have you ever been an agent of the Israeli government?" Was she kidding? I told her how offensive that question was. Well, we have to ask. We just want to check. Have you ever communicated with an undercover agent of Israel? If they were undercover, I responded, how the heck would I know? I calmly answered her question. Remus was just doing her job. I get it. But the fact that she asked or was told to ask that question by someone else said a lot about people around the VP. So have you ever been an agent of the Israeli government? Wow. That should be interesting if we learn out more about that vetting process. Eric Swalwell, as I mentioned, can't run for governor in California because he doesn't live there, according to a new court filing. Right-wing pundit and filmmaker Joel Gilbert said in a court complaint filed in Sacramento that Eric Swalwell, considered the likely successor to Gavin Newsom, actually lives in Washington, D.C., and is prohibited from running for the top state officer under California law. Public record searches revealed no current ownership or leasehold in interest held by Eric Swalwell in California, nor any history of an ownership of leasehold interest based on available public records. Swalwell's congressional financial disclosures from 2011 to 2024 list no California real estate ownership. Gilbert said in the filing that the California's address Swalwell claimed in a campaign filing December 4th is actually the office of the congressman's lawyer and not a residence. Interesting. All right, we got to take a short break and wrap up today's edition of Frankly Speaking. Get your last second comments in, and we'll be right back.
Accidents happen. If you're looking for an honest, dependable, trustworthy auto repair shop, bring it to Nappy's. Or if it's undrivable, have it towed right to us. It's your choice where to take your vehicle. Nappy's works with all insurance companies and will manage all vehicle calibrations. Nappy's has a state-of-the-art paint booth and a new and improved repair shop. Let our friendly staff of specialists help you through the process and get it done right the first time. Commit to Nappy's, family-owned for 3 generations.
Thank you for your business.
For the modular airborne firefighting system, we fly assisting the U.S. Forest Service in their firefighting efforts.
Tanker 05, I need to drop on my location.
The fire retardant that we drop establishes a fire containment line so the fire doesn't burn through it.
It helps out the guys on the ground who are actually building trench lines, hand lines.
Outstanding job, 05. Thank you very much.
Most recently, we've had some fires out here in Colorado. We've also been deployed to several other areas, including California.
Saving property, saving lives. Start your adventure with the Air Force Reserve.
World Youth Clubs provides professional and technical assistance to all our affiliate clubs all around the world. We already have 44 countries that are behind us providing safe spaces for kids, but there are 160 other countries we'd like to reach out to. Yeah. Right, Rod? Exactly. We need you to help fund the World Youth Clubs and make their dream come true.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. So according to The Hill, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez versus J.D. Vance. The 2028 jockeying begins. Last week, AOC said, I understand that Vice President Vance believes that shooting a young mother of 3 in the face 3 times is an acceptable America that he wants to live in. And I do not. And that is a fundamental difference between Vice President Vance and I. I do not believe that American people should be assassinated in the street. Ocasio-Cortez, known by her initials, AOC, is considering her options on her political future. Sources say she is still deliberating whether she wants to run for the Senate in New York or launch a White House bid, but she is sounding increasingly like a 2028 presidential candidate. Moore, the Democratic strategist, said the mini primary for 2028 has already begun and she's in it, and people want her to be in it. She knows she has a chance to potentially run for president and be president, so she doesn't want to be caught unprepared. Wow. AOC and Mamdani give a rise to the rogue radicals And according to the Republican National Committee chief, that's a good thing for Republicans. RNC Chair Joe Gruters predicted that the Democrat Party will go so far to the left that Republicans will become the only sane choice in the upcoming midterm elections. What AOC and Mamdani and others are doing is giving confidence to these left-wing rogue radicals across the country and giving them confidence to run for these races, which in turn turns their primary battles into who can go further to the left. That helps all our candidates on the Republican side because we are the party of reasonableness and common sense. I think that the other side has lost touch on reality. Look at New York. You have AOC, you have Mamdani. They are the new face of the Democrat Party. He claimed the GOP will defy history since the party that occupies the White House, currently President Trump and Republicans, traditionally takes beatings in midterm elections. Still, some independent analysis doubt that Republicans will be able to maintain control of the House of Representatives in the midterm election this fall. Anyway, the Bruce Blakeman, this is an understatement. Bruce Blakeman faces an uphill battle in the New York governor's race as Hochul boasts a $32 million war chest. You heard me right, $32 million. Blakeman pulled in just a little under $1.5 million. That's another thing. Elise Stefanik's a great fundraiser. She would have had a similar war chest to Hochul, but Bruce Blakeman only at $1.5 million to Hochul's $32 million. Of that, $1.2 million was transferred out of his campaign for Nassau County Executive and from the Nassau County GOP. The State Republican Committee has $465,000 on hand, according to the records, but Hochul's fundraising prowess remains one of her strongest assets, and it would have been one of Stefanik's too. She pulled in a whopping $4.5 million for her campaign, meaning she heads into 2026 with $20 million on hand total, including funds raised throughout the last 4 years. Another $6.5 million was donated to the New York State Democratic Committee, which helps fund Democrat campaigns up and down the ballot, for $12 million total in the party's account. So an uphill battle for Mr. Blakeman, as we have been saying from the beginning. As I mentioned, Governor Hochul and Letitia James are not on a list of Tom Suozzi's campaign kickoff, not wanting to campaign with them. It's typical of Tom Suozzi. He would put Bruce Blakeman on the list if he could get away with it, with one political source. All right, that does it for today's edition of Frankly Speaking. Thank you to everybody who joined us. Such great comments. A lot of wonderful back and forth. I hope that you enjoy your Martin Luther King Day. And join us tomorrow morning, starting at 6 a.m. for Frankly Speaking. Only on WYDC TV, Big Fox. We'll see you tomorrow morning, bright and early. I look forward to it already. Have a great day, everyone.
Don't have time to go to the gym? The health club is not an option? Come to Hesselson today and see why swim spas and fitness systems can fit into anyone's yard and budget. 12-foot, 14-foot, 15-foot, 18-foot dual temperature hot tub and swim spas are all on display in Hesselson's indoor and outdoor showroom. Try before you buy. 0% interest-free financing options are available on every Hesselson swim spa. Swim and exercise year-round and start making every day better. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.